Style. Style is the answer to everything. A fresh way to approach a dull or dangerous thing. To do a dangerous thing.
Welcome back to another episode of the Collapse Experiment podcast, where I discuss the current state of the collapse that we are experiencing. If my wife didn't drink the last beer last night that we had in the house, I'd be cracking that open right now and celebrating because the Georgia Guidestones are gone. They are completely gone. There was an explosion the other night at 4 o'clock in the morning. One of the four main pillars was destroyed, and then the local government came in and tore the rest down because of safety concerns. It did look like the middle pillar, the fifth pillar that helped keep the top dome section attached. It looks like that had a massive crack in it, and who knows what the other ones look like. It's not like they let anybody up close to it, except for the person with the explosives. Uh, it is interesting to see the FBI released surveillance footage. They had cameras on the Georgia Guidestones because of some vandalism that was happening. Wow. It's almost like, protecting that Black Lives Matter mural in New York City. Plenty of police protection for that, but not for you. The Georgia Guidestones, surveillance cameras, spotlights, and yet your children cannot get an armed guard in the school. It goes to show where our priorities are in our current society. So I'm hearing a lot of interesting comments when it comes to the bombing of the Guidestones. One, a lot of people are stating that it's very obvious that this is not a BLM Antifa style event. They tend to be on camera, being very vocal. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Don't care if it makes any sense or not. This statue's coming down. That's what we saw 2 years ago, and that's what we continue to see. Hell, they even tore down Winston Churchill in England. You know, the guy who prevented these people from speaking German. I think he did more good than he did harm, but yeah, these people, they don't seem to be interested in reading any history books. They just have one person with an agenda telling them something, and then they go out and they throw a hissy fit and start tearing stuff down. So this is definitely not a left-wing event. This seems to be somebody who is anti-globalist, anti-depopulation, shall I say, pro-human, maybe pro-food. That seems to be a war that is going on right now, and let's face it, regardless of whether you've thought of it before or anybody else has told you previously, it would appear that we are in a war, and I'm not talking about Ukraine. I'm talking about the majority of the population of the planet and certain government and non-government officials who, quite frankly, just don't want you here anymore. I don't know. They don't know you. They just don't seem to like you, or me, for that matter. And yeah, I've got some serious issues with that. I've experienced some of this beforehand as a straight white man living in the ghetto in a city that was how shall I say, woke. I wasn't exactly a desired neighbor to a lot of people, a desired coworker. I was not welcome, and so I understand the feeling that people might have when they get the news of, yeah, you know, there's 8 billion people on the planet. We'd really like to bring it down to 500 million, and there needs to be some cuts, some losses, and when you're looking at the list of the people who they want to keep around, um, there's a very good chance it's not you. So take a look at Denmark. Currently, Denmark, there's major protests going on with the farmers. The farmers took their tractors, they shut down the highways in and out of the country, they shut down the food processing centers because, in their mind, and I think they have a very valid point here, they want the public and the government to see what life would be like if there wasn't anybody growing any food. It's not a pretty situation. It's this appears to be a controlled starvation agenda where I don't know if you've noticed this, but China's buying a bunch of food. A lot of other countries are no longer exporting. India decided that instead of making up the losses of Ukraine and Russia exporting wheat, they came back a few months later and said, yeah, we don't even have enough for ourselves, so nothing's leaving the country. And that's where things have stayed. Uh, a lot of countries, there's a long list of countries that are no longer exporting food, and I don't blame them. So when you have the government handing out money and printing more money, but you have absolutely nothing that you can buy with it, that is the biggest issue. And that is what's going to be coming towards us this fall and this winter. And a lot of people are talking about it. There's a lot of different channels I can point you towards on YouTube and on Odyssey. This has been a long time coming, and you just don't have the mainstream media talking about it. Occasionally, once in a while, there's a story that comes out where they're like, is there going to be food shortages this fall? Let's find out. And then there's some idiot that they post on there who's a so-called expert. It's like, no, they could never. This is America. You know, we've got this amount, blah, 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 blah. It's like, do you really think they're going to let you have it? Because currently we have Granholm, who is the energy secretary, and there's a lot that there's a lot involved with being the energy secretary of the United States. And I'm guessing they didn't bother telling Granholm what that involves because somebody had asked her how much oil the United States uses daily. She was like, "Well, I don't have those numbers right now." That's your job. that, you're supposed to know stuff like this because your policies are these are the things that the policies that you create are based on. How much energy do we use? How do we disperse that? How is that used over the entire economy? How much goes into cars? How much goes into tractors? How much goes into tractor trailers? What about this? What about that? Planes. Do we have enough fuel to fly planes? She doesn't know this. She doesn't know any of this. So when they're asking these people who are, I hate to say running, the people who are currently in charge of different things, different policies, when they go to these people and they ask them simple questions like, well, how much oil does the United States use in one day? And they don't have the answer, that's a good indication they don't know how to do their job. And, you know, we saw criticism coming from the Trump administration or towards the Trump administration because we had an energy secretary who was going to be appointed. And when he didn't realize that that had something to do with, you know, the nuclear arsenal that was also in the energy department sector, uh, the the left was really quick to jump on him and go, he doesn't even know what job he's being appointed for. We currently have somebody, and Granholm, I can say, as somebody who lives in Michigan and was under her rule while she was governor, she does not know how, she can't run a state. I don't know how she's supposed to be running energy policy. It's just mind-boggling. It's almost like she was hired not because she is qualified, but because she's, oh, what's that thing that can't be defined? What is it? I'm not a biologist, so I can't say what that is. Oh, it's a word used for. I think it used to mean a female human. Anyways, it's almost like she got hired for some other reason, and quite frankly, at this point, I don't know what that other reason is because I'm not a biologist. It's I'm sorry. I'm just an idiot who is not dumb enough to be appointed to the Supreme Court. A couple years ago, I first came across this whole this new woke agenda that was going on. I was still living in the city, and as a writer, I decided I'm gonna try this NaNoWriMo thing. So I went online and I found a local group. It was the only local group that was in that area, and went down to the local Starbucks. And I'm not a fan of Starbucks. I just wanted to see what this NaNoWriMo thing was all about. And the person, trying to be sensitive here to, although I'm going to hurt their feelings by the end of this, this person who is running it, looking back, I believe they were born female. Is that the correct term? And then they identified as a male sometimes. And they had a girlfriend. I really hope they're not together anymore because that was not a healthy relationship for the girlfriend. The girlfriend was not particularly, I think she, how would we put it? She was sensitive to the needs of her partner. She went along with all this, right? And anyways, the person running this group, you did not know. We met weekly, but as you go into the Starbucks and you sit at the table and everybody starts chatting and talking, eventually something would be said where she would turn around and go, "Oh no, I'm so and so today," and it's like everyone's kind of looking around at each other like, does she have a name tag? I mean, he have an. How are we supposed to know? Like, what is? Because they don't change their clothes, they don't change their appearance. They still look like the same person that they looked the previous week. And there's one meeting where we sat down and the girlfriend comes in, who's always there, and she says something to this person, and right away, like that person just snaps and says, "Oh no, I'm so and so today," and the girlfriend was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know." Well, you should have. And it's a control mechanism. That's all it is. It's about controlling you. They're using language to control you. Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time. This was my experience. Quite frankly, I was there to write, therefore I didn't do much talking, and I didn't get any of the direct blows from any of this. But yeah, that's what this person was doing. And it was an abusive situation for the girlfriend. She, yeah, there I go again, assuming what they are at this moment. She was very hostile towards the other people in the NaNoWriMo group. They definitely had an issue. Both of them, her and the girlfriend, had an issue with me being there. And they were even talking in front of me about how, like, he's not going to be here next week. There's no way. And I was like, oh, really? So you're going to dictate as to, like, who can and can't be here because, I have a dick. I know it was a secret. I'm sorry. I just blew it. Any of you who was running a poll out there and just won the money in the pool of like, yes, I do. I do have one. That's kind of how the whole biology, sex of creatures works. And hey, in case you didn't know, Ben Shapiro probably has one. Matt Walsh probably has one. Jordan Peterson, he's got his daughter, so I'm pretty sure he has one. And at one point in time, it functioned. I'm not gonna say whether it does now, but hey, I'm just saying. Um, yes, men have these things, and this person, I'm 99.9% sure she didn't, but for some reason, depending on the day, sometimes there were days where we're sitting there, we're doing these things, we're typing, doing these writing exercises, and like halfway through, it was only an hour. We'd meet for an hour, and like halfway through it, she'd say something about like, "Oh no, I'm so and so." She'd have a different name for like every gender that she identified as, and sometimes she was non-binary, um, which only says to me like you have zero desire to ever have an orgasm. That's what that means to me. That's what you're saying. That's not exactly what your girlfriend's probably wanting to hear. Like, oh, you're non-binary. That sucks for me. Um, yeah. So this was definitely a mental illness thing. And the people who go along with it, oh my God. I believe they view this also as a control mechanism. The HR people who send out that email saying like, "Hey, on your letterhead for your email, you really need to put your preferred pronouns." And when they're pushing that, um, the thing is, once you post what your pronouns are, that means you're abiding by the rule. So my my advice to you: don't fill that out. Because if you don't fill it out, it means I don't believe in this. I'm not going to follow it. And when you write the wrong he, her, him, z, zer, zar, Google gobble um, on an email, and they come at you and they're like, "Hey, you use my wrong pronoun." Well, for one, I didn't send the email to you, asshole. Um, it went to so and so. Why are they sharing it? Because you use my wrong pronoun. Yeah, again, I'm communicating with somebody else. You're not in the conversation, so yeah, this is really a breach of privacy within the corporation, and I'm gonna contact a lawyer. So this is harassment. I don't agree with this bullshit, and has nothing to do with work. So have a nice day. And by the way, here's my lawyer. No longer talk to me. So, anyways, that's where a lot of this needs to go. Bring in the lawyers. Usually, I'm of the attitude of like just get rid of the lawyers, but at this point, I think that the opposite, the opposing party, really needs to see some of the financial hurt that they put on other people, and I really, really hope that this starts, and it starts soon. I know that there's already cases out there, and I really, I really want them to start having these like public announcements of like so and so got this amount for being fired for using the wrong pronoun. And it has happened in the past. I just think we need more of it, and I think we need lawyers with a pair of balls, and more balls than a lying tongue, and actually get some of this stuff done. So that's about it. That's it for me. Remember, you are the carbon that they want to reduce. There is a war going on. Pick your battles, pick your sides, and let's meet 2030 with a big fu to the globalist and the people who just keep telling you they don't like you and they don't want you around. Well, those are some snippets from the latest episode of the Collapse Experiment podcast. Yes, we have a me have podcast. me. That's all me. This episode will be loaded up soon. It'll probably be up before this video is posted. So what are you waiting for? Like, go to Spotify, Google, Apple. Why are there two links to podcast things for Google and Apple? That doesn't like is one of them no longer. Anyways, I tried loading this podcast to Google/Apple, and both were a huge pain in the you know what. And so I don't know if that's happening. That's they don't seem to be interested in having an RSS. They want you to fill out a whole bunch of other stuff. And unless you specifically, like, not only do you have your podcast image, they want a background thing that has to be 3,000 by 750 pixels. And, like, if you don't have that, then you can't have what that has to do with an audio show. I have no idea. So, anyways, yeah, they don't ask for a link, and they want all this other stuff instead, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So, anyways, I've also tried Stitcher and a few other outlets, and there seems to be some weird hang up with, like, confirm your podcast. We just sent your email a link, and there's no email. There's no link that was sent to my email. I checked the spam folder. I checked the trash folder. Promotions. The primary, social. I checked all the folders, all of them. So Stitcher, get your shitter together, and yeah. So you can find this on Spotify. You can also find it on Anchor. Anchor seems to be a really good platform. It seems to be everywhere else that is a huge freaking issue. And it's almost like they're purposely trying to make this whole podcast thing a lot harder than it needs to be. Or I'm just on somebody's list of, like, don't let this guy talk. I'm probably on a let's face it, at this point I'm probably on a list. So yeah. Anyways, check out my stuff. Hope everyone's doing well. Keep on typing.